Hello, friends. It's Amy Calandrino, and I'm coming to you with another episode of the Performance Mindset Podcast. I'm super excited to have with me today Thomas Larance. The goal of the Performance Mindset Podcast is to really talk about commercial real estate, business, and talk to some of the impactful and influential people I've met along the way. I'm CEO and owner of Beyond Commercial. You could always check out beyondcommercial.com for some of our latest listings and what's going on in commercial real estate. So I want to give a quick bio. So Tom started his first endeavor, which is Corporate Concierge Services in 2001, with the vision for taking memorable guest experiences into new spaces. And then over the decades, it became known for its transformation of the concierge industry in entirely new areas of guest experience, including tenant lounges, in-office hospitality, wellness centers, and show-stopping convention hotels. Its reputation for innovation and excellence became a mainstay in the industry. So I could say you're a trendsetter.
Thank you.
Yes. So JLL ended up acquiring CCS in 2019, and then he launched the experience division. But now you are back redefining industry excellence with the experience group. So we're going to talk about all that today.
Wow, I know it's so fun. It's so fun that at the beginning of the year, I just had some of my A-listers came back to me and said, "Hey, let's put the band back together. Let's do this. We've got another round of experience management in us." And I was so thrilled that some of the former team that I worked with, both at Corporate Concierge and at XM, which we created for JLL, wanted to come back and start the experience group. So it's been an incredible ride so far. We've gotten such great positive feedback, and it's great to be back talking to some of our clients again. It's very cool.
Yeah. So I think when you first started CCIS, from what I understand, you were more traditional hospitality, and then later on it started to evolve. Can you talk a little bit about that journey?
Sure. When I started Corporate Concierge in 2001, we really were focused on the office sector, the commercial real estate sector in the offices. And we really were concierge in the lobbies of office buildings. And it's a service that the commercial real estate industry was outsourcing because we were the experts in that industry. And it really was the traditional restaurant reservations, car services, tickets, tours, that sort of thing. And it started in the industry because as companies were downsizing or right-sizing, you really no longer had a secretary anymore. It was the executive assistant. And the executive assistant was helping out 2 or 3, even 4 executives. And so it was an amenity that was created to help deal and help service the tenants in the building at the time with all those sort of reservations, travel, gift giving, that sort of thing in the office buildings. And then as time passed, and we were always really striving to be ahead of the curve technology wise. So then a lot of these services, we started seeing StubHub come up. And, with the advent of Uber and Lyft and OpenTable, all our service completely changed from that traditional concierge service into these modern technologies, which we're very accustomed to today. So instead of doing a lot of those traditional concierge services, what we're really focusing on now, again, as technology has changed, now that people are really working more on the hybrid sort of work schedule and workforce, we are managing tenant lounges. We really moved from the concierge concept because people are really, we will still do those things, but right now, instead, we are managing full floors of amenity spaces, whether it's a tenant lounge. And some of the lounges that really are the sweet spot for us are, like, for example, at the Aon Center, it's a full floor Tenant Lounge. It's a full floor of the building. It encompasses a state-of-the-art fitness center. It has, in the morning, coffee service and grab and go. In the afternoon, the bar opens, and it's from 3 to 7. And it's not meant to be your local Cheers. At 7 o'clock, it does close down because it's meant as a place for people in the building to gather and have a sense of that community and getting together and really, chatting and coming together in a sense of in sort of a team building type situation. And then we also manage whatever the conference space is available. So there's rooms for conferences. People will come up and they will just throughout the entire day sit in the lounge area. So, I mean, we're talking, 35,000 square feet on the 70th floor, beautiful views. I mean, these are really kind of our sweet spot locations. But I was also recently in Boston talking to a group of brokers and leasing agents about what can we do in the suburban markets when there may not be a full space for a tenant lounge. And there's lots of things which we can do in terms of convenience services. There's obviously there's the auto spa, there's the mobile dentist. The hot new thing right now is the mobile DMV. You don't have to go to the DMV anymore. We can schedule the DMV to come right to the building, and everyone can do all of their DMV business while they're at the office. So while we started in those traditional services that you would see in more of a luxury hotel, we really are a productivity tool. And we are now, I would say that if we summed it up in sort of one sort of sentence or phrase, it as, why are people coming back to the office when a lot of people can work remotely? And we are creating that destination. We are making the buildings destination worthy. That's our goal, to bring not just what's on trend, but what's happening overall in the market. And what are people looking for? What do they want if they're coming back to the office? That's what we're doing. And it's not cookie cutter. It's not one size fits all. That's for sure.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, and we will get into maybe like the differences between urban and suburban. But I wanted to go back to the point about technology. It was really interesting. I had headshots today, and at one point we were kind of transitioning, and I had to change outfits. But I came back out. My photographer's like, "Hold on, just a second. I'm putting in my Grubhub order, so when I get back to my studio, it's like waiting there for me." And then for me the other day too, I selected a number of different properties I was going to tour my tenant on. And I was just about to email it to my assistant and say, "Hey, can you line this up?" And I was like, wait a second, ChatGPT, we want to see 123 Main Street, 100 College Avenue or whatever. And like, tell me a tour schedule, assuming we got to start at 7:30 and their flight is at this time. And can you space it out? We're seeing this much square footage. And it goes, brrr. So like, I think, so it's nice. It's nice to still have a concierge and maybe talk about, should I see this show or not see this show? But
that's right.
Booking and all the other stuff, it's amazing what technology has done.
Oh, it's changed everything. And I say, you can't be bored in commercial real estate right now. You can't be bored in our industry. There's a lot. It's changing every single day. It's an exciting time. It's a really challenging time, but it's also a very cool time with all the changes that are happening. And it's fun really to be on that trend and to help our clients figure out what is the right thing for them. What is the right thing for this asset? It's what gets us going and gets us up every day to really sort out and work with our clients on.
What do you think it would be one of the projects that you're most proud of back when it was like CCS?
I have to say that the cloud level at Aon is really just amazing. I talk about it all the time, but ownership of that property really does such a great job. The investment that they put into that, and they really built out one of the most spectacular places, ideal sort of tenant lounges. There's a lot of new construction that's happening now and repositioning of properties that are adding these beautiful spaces. But this one was really sort of at the forefront of being phenomenal, and people are looking at it and still amazed at it, today. And this is going back several years.
Wow. What year was that?
Gosh, now you're going to put me to the test. I forget exactly when that was built out. It was probably, I'm guessing, I don't remember exactly, but maybe 4 years before COVID, 4 to 5
Yeah,
years, maybe
2016.
more.
Yeah. So within the decade, and it's
Oh,
still
yeah.
a good
Oh, sure.
testament to time. That's
Sure.
interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, and we actually, the community manager would go on tours with some of the brokers, and we would hear constantly, like, people wanted to be there because of the amenities. You're competing with, where are you in the central business district? Are you close to transportation? What's happening? And this lounge has really made a difference. I mean, the tenants would report back that that is the case.
Well, Ian, one of the things we talked about too is it's establishing this community. It's and then there's been relationships forged within tenants, and it's been a great thing. Can you speak to that at all?
Well, you see how, I mean, that, different, like there was a recent Gallup poll that said companies are 21% more profitable when their employees are engaged. So as opposed to being working remote, when people are coming in, whether they're getting together in the tenant lounge, having conversations, meeting around the coffee pot or the water cooler, that these companies are the employees are far more productive. People want that sense of community. They want that sense of engagement. And I think it was the Urban Land Institute, in fact, that recently came out and said 25% of all new leases that are happening right now are happening in buildings with modern amenities. Now, that could be something that's been retrofitted. I mean, we were just at a building in Chicago for a conference, and the building had just opened its brand new tenant lounge. Beautifully done. Again, an entire floor, included a fitness center. But what I think one of the cool things about helping our clients today is 10 years ago, the fitness center was fully staffed, and lots of exercise equipment, lots of classes, and that sort of thing. And what we're seeing now is that it's more a wellness center. That we just toured a beautiful facility in New York, and it didn't have any of the cardio workout, but it was more of a wellness center. I mean, even they're doing like med spa services like Botox, different beauty services, the red light therapy. We're seeing buildings now that are doing these, cold plunge pools are hot, and they're including them in the wellness center. We just had a building that we're working with that has a beautiful gym, and they're converting, I would say, 25% of the gym from the actual workout equipment to wellness services. It's amazing to see what's happening in terms of that. And people are starving for that as they're going back to the office. They want to have these conveniences there when they're in the office.
Well, yeah, I love the cold plunge. It's just like a jolt of energy. I don't know if you've ever done it yet. Have you?
I try.
You tried. You tried.
I try.
When I was at a conference for Commercial Real Estate Influencers Summit back in September in Atlanta, the hotel had one, and I made sure to get that first day, first thing, because that you're talking about by the time in a conference you start at 8 a.m. breakfast, and then you go until the dinner, and then the party after the dinner, and what are we talking about? Like a 14, 15-hour day?
Sure.
So like, oh my gosh,
Sure.
it like helps so much. And so to have that, I do think it's a productivity booster, like really jolts your energy. At least
I do respect all those folks, yourself included, that do the cold plunge. I'm going to give it another try. It's just quite, it's a lot. I mean, it's quite the jolt to your system, isn't it?
You know what you could do instead of going all the way into the cold plunge? Just setting your hands on the top of the water, you get almost the same effect. Or just putting your feet, like stand on the top step with your feet there, and then bend over and put your hands and just float it off the top. You get almost the same effect, and then you don't get all that.
Right.
Everything.
Well, when we meet again, we'll talk about how that experience went.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, that makes a big difference. So you worked, you had it for about 20 years and
I
then
did.
transitioned to JLL.
I
Uh,
did. It's a great
so
opportunity. It was a great experience to create that division for them. It was cool. Really, really cool.
how did being in a larger organization you feel affect maybe your leadership or your innovation? What was different to being more boutique than being in a larger organization?
Well, that experience, I have to say, it was really great, and I'm very grateful for having that experience. But it is a huge company, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're massive, and so it does take a little longer to get some things done. And but I walk away from that very grateful for the opportunity. But I love the fact now that we are a boutique
Yes.
company, and we are more nimble, and we can do things what I would consider to be a little bit quicker, and a little bit more creative.
Yeah. So on the one hand, while you might have much more like resources and manpower and all that type of thing, sometimes time is important and being able to be more nimble.
They
Would that be
both have
fair to
their
say?
pluses, they
Yeah.
both have their benefits.
Yeah.
And I will always be grateful for that opportunity. But I am an entrepreneur at heart, and I
Yeah.
do love, working and working my own company. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I understand that. I mean, I own my own company, so
sure.
I totally get it. So I think strip mall guy the other day, he's on Twitter and he said, "Don't ever hire a founder." I was like, "Oh, I don't know about that, but
Right.
maybe." So it's funny.
Right. It was a great opportunity because
Yeah.
at the time, when my first company was purchased, um, the amenity management services became so incredibly competitive, right before COVID. And I'd worked for all the major companies at the time. I worked for CB, I worked for Cushman, and on
Mhm.
the retail side, I was working with Macerich, and I was working with GGP, which is now Brookfield. On the hotel side, we did more of the traditional concierge services for the Hyatt and the Hilton brands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all super cool. But, it was smart of them at the time to want to take me off the market and provide the services just for them. I just think that it was the trend at the time. But I'm seeing some of these services being looked at again by boutique firms like mine.
I can appreciate that. Yeah. Like being
Yeah,
a more boutique brand, I work for not only smaller big companies, but I have the opportunity to work still with like corporate international or whatever, corporate
that's right.
institutional type of clientele if I want to. And I
That's
have
right.
that kind of choice as to those people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument for both sides. I just think it's a little bit more out of the box, a little bit more nimble, and a little bit more, it's a little bit easier to make some different decisions and pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think the only way you're going to know if something works is to try and then quickly, pivot if you need to. So, and
Right.
to be able to
That's
go
right.
through that innovation. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Is there anything you can talk about that you're working on now that maybe is different, from your competitors or where do you see the future of tenant and guest experiences going?
I'm very fortunate to have what I call the dream team, and I think it is how we do what we do is what makes us really different. I have an operations person, and I can't say that she's never made a hiring mistake. We've all made hiring mistakes, but she is fascinating how she puts together the teams that she needs for all the accounts. She really finds personalities that match the market, where we are, what the account is, and she really has a great reputation for being a leader and being a great employee manager. On the flip side, on the accounting side, my accounting financial person is very nimble. I mean, this is what we need to do. And sometimes, like for an example, when I was operating a fitness component under my own brand where I was we were the owners of the space, leasing of the space. You call the lawyer and you call the insurance person and you say, make us whole, make sure we're covered from a liability standpoint. Put this in its own separate entity, which is a much easier thing to do. And then I'm like, this is what we have to do from an accounting standpoint. How do we make this work? And she's very creative on her side. And then I also have someone who is our creative director, and she really researches the industry and comes up with what is next on trend, what is happening in the industry. So we are at the forefront. We can tell our clients, this is what's happening. Here's what's going on in the LA market. Here's what's going on in New York, Dallas, Denver, Chicago. She knows what really is trending. I mean, she was the one that when I was talking to the brokers in the suburban market in Boston, she's the one that did some research and said how some people are coming now that we're post pandemic, that people are really coming. They're bringing their dogs to the office. Yeah. I couldn't believe how much research she found that people are bringing their pets back to the office. And this building was saying, what can we do? Because we're finding this a trend. Well, we're in conversation to build them kind of a dog park and a pet relief place, and something that is really so that when the employees are coming into the office, and it's a building that is fine with pets there. So they're building out that to be something that the tenants actually love. So being on trend, the cold plunge is another example. We're seeing this pop up all over the place. On the residential side, I was talking to a client not that long ago in Washington, D.C., and one of the amenities that they're putting in this luxury residential building are 3 different podcast rooms. Everyone's an influencer. All these people are doing podcasts. They all want to do it. And a lot of folks don't have an office or a recording studio to go to. So this is a new amenity, and they sign up for the time and they can go down right where they live and do the podcast from right where they are. So it's knowing what is happening so that our clients can be best in class for their clients.
And are any of your buildings building out any kind of podcast rooms as part of the tenant lounges or anything like that you've seen?
I haven't seen that just yet. And I'm not 100% sure if that's going to be a trend that we see as we move forward. But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually have a listing assignment and we were short. The space would have been perfect. I'm the landlord rep in this one, but we were short a room. The company had to have a podcast room. And
interesting.
We had a space for everything except for that, because you don't have to have a podcast to need a podcast room. You could just simply be on a podcast and benefit from having that space. Maybe you work in a space that you're there's a lot of places that they're in a bullpen. So
that's right.
And they would benefit from that. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was so cool that we're now seeing this in that particular industry, and our other clients are loving the information.
Well, I think podcasts are just so popular too. It's interesting.
That's right.
I've run into so many people around town, I listen to your podcast, or and I'm like, I didn't even know that. I see the numbers, but it's cool when you run into people and you have no idea. So we talked a little bit about suburban versus urban. Is there any other interesting differences between the amenities offered in suburban versus urban that you've seen? Or do you have 2 markets that are completely different, like something you might see on the West Coast that you wouldn't see on the East Coast? Anything interesting?
Well, just some funny stories, of course, LA is a market in and of itself. I absolutely love LA and what happens there. So when we first started, sound baths are actually coming back a little bit again. But when they were really first popular, of course, the LA market loved to do the sound bath and the meditation. Amazing. And then one of our convenience services at the time, we did it was LinkedIn, and LinkedIn had a mobile fan, and they were helping people update their LinkedIn profiles. But in reality, of course, everyone in LA is in the business, right? So everyone really just wanted a new headshot. So, it was so fun how different people, do different things. We did a cool promotion with Tesla, with like their second or third iteration, and just the look and the feel of the people that wanted to see it in the LA market were so different than the Chicago market. I mean, everyone was, this is going back a couple years, but it was just it was more of a younger crowd in the LA market that was just all over seeing the Tesla, and Chicago is a little bit more of a conservative market. So just to see how different markets do things differently is you got to be on top of that for sure. Absolutely.
I don't see New York having a sound bath.
Right?
I see them maybe having a treadmill like available in the lounge for people to step their laptop on and keep going and get some more steps in.
Right. I mean, food and beverage is, of course, the hot of everything. The hot commodity is food and beverage. People love to be in these great sort of lounge type, areas and conduct business in what we call the heart of the building or the living room of the building. And I believe it's actually the Equinox that's at Hudson Yards in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful gym, beautiful facility, but also open to the general population is their beautiful restaurant and lounge that walks out, and you have this beautiful view over the Hudson River. Stunning. And this is at an Equinox, meaning that typically you wouldn't go there unless you had a membership at this facility. But the lounge area and the food is so amazing, and the lounge is so fantastic that it's gets people from all over that goes in. That it's a destination.
I'll have to check that out next time I'm in New York.
Absolutely.
Is that in the really tall building that has the walkout place, like the walkout tower? The Equinox?
It's not in that one specifically, but it's right in that campus. It's like literally across the pickup for Ubers and taxis. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What you had your business transitioned out, but throughout all of it, do you have any particular habits or practices that have helped you keep like a strong mindset throughout your career?
A lot of people say culture in terms of just like a buzzword, but when you really put culture and your staff to first, it's such a difference. I think that people want to work with us because of our culture, because of how we treat people, and because how we build that sense of community for our own team. And I think it shows. And I think that people see that we're taking what we do for our own staff and put it out there for our clients and then their clients. And I think that that's really something that shows. I really do. I think that it's important we are practicing what we're actually selling. And I think I think our clients see that.
Oh, that's great. Do you have any specific advice that you would give to other people that would be other entrepreneurs or business leaders that are looking to stay ahead?
I think, it's understand whatever your business and the people that are helping you succeed, help them also succeed. Mm-hmm. Really do. Again, it sounds just like it's a buzzword, but we really do. We love working together. It shows. Hire the right people and be mindful of what people are, where they are today, and what your community, your community within your company, within your building, within whatever your area and space is. It makes a difference. That sense of community, that sense of culture, that sense of belonging, it matters. It really the bottom line is it matters.
I would agree with that. Like I have, people that work within my home, obviously, so that I can do all the things that I do in business. But then, I also have people within my company. And my former assistant, who I helped her get another job because things shifted, that she really wanted to explore something else. I helped her get another
Sure.
job, but she does hair and makeup. And I was like, can you come over at 6:30? She came over, and then she wanted to talk to me about some different things going on. And, I'm still there for her. And, I have things, having that personal relationship with those that are on your team
Yes.
and understanding what their goals. I also ran into someone that worked for us 20 years ago when I worked at my husband's law firm. I ran into them today at like a luncheon, and then we were
Oh,
talking
wow.
about how amazing it was. Like back then, I call them Calendrino alumni. so,
Sure.
like, so,
Sure. I
but I
think,
mean, treating people well. I think it's really important.
and understand what's happening in your own industry and the industries around you. We have to really understand that what's happening in the hybrid workforce. What are people really looking for, and why? And when we understand what's happening, we can help convey that to our clients and our tenants, and it makes it all that more successful. Know what's happening.
Yeah, no, stay on top of it. Don't keep
That's
doing
right.
the same thing, rinse and repeat. There's always room to continue to innovate. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Well, is there anything else you want to share? This has been a great conversation. I'm so excited for you and your
I've had
team.
so much fun. Thank you so much. It's great.
Yeah. So, have people want to reach out to the experience group? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Oh gosh, I guess we're on every social, I guess, imaginable. We're txg.live is the website, so check that out if you're interested in the experience group.
Oh, I like the TXG. I think that's
Uh,
so cool. Yeah.
TXG, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, awesome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to everybody for tuning into another episode of the Performance Mindset Podcast. Let's all keep strengthening our mindset. Don't forget that I will have on my personal website soon a link to the book coming out in early 2025, From Perfect to Real. And I do have a new subtitle. It is now Ditch Perfectionism, Shift Your Mindset, and Thrive on Your Own Terms. So super excited about that. And I can't wait to have another episode.